Good morning, grade 5. Welcome to our English class. So today we're going to talk about punctuation. Punctuation marks are important in English because aside from it follows a standard, it gives life to what is written. What is punctuation? Punctuation is one of the most important aspects of written English, and yet it is one that is taken the most lightly or means not giving much focus on it. And sometimes kids or children or students forget to use the punctuation correctly. It is, in fact, this feature of writing that gives meaning to the written words, much like pauses and changes in tones of the voice when speaking. So, punctuation is not only important when you are writing, also when you are reading, because you can see certain punctuation if you're going to pause for a while or you have to stop. An error in punctuation can convey a completely different meaning to the one that is intended. Why do we need punctuation? Punctuation shows us how to structure sentences and how each sentence should be read. So first, let's talk about one type of punctuation. First one is full stop or a period. Period, it is used to depict the completion of a sentence. A full stop is used at the end of a sentence and it can indicate an abbreviation. For example, the word example, E period and G period. Okay, we have examples here. I visited my friend yesterday with a full stop. They are my neighbors, full stop. And another example, Anna and Stacy went shopping yesterday. They bought new shoes. So as you see, this sentence consists of two compound independent sentences. So means they have complete thought and always ends with a full stop or a period. Another punctuation, commonly used punctuation is a comma. A comma, it is used as the shortest pause that is made while speaking. It is used to separate a list of words in a sentence. So it can join two independent clauses, a sentence containing a list, dependent clause, independent clause, adjective clause before direct speech, and following a transition word. Let's look at this example. First, to join two independent clauses containing a conjunction. So, we learned about what is independent and dependent clause, right? Independent clause is a sentence that can stand alone and it has a complete thought. For example, Jasmine wanted to buy sweets, but she didn't have enough money. So, as you see, these are two independent clauses, but they contain a conjunction but. So you have to put after the first independent clause a comma before a conjunction but. Number two, a sentence containing a list. So, I bought apples, oranges, grapes, and tomatoes. So, list of fruits. So, when you write it, you have to put comma after each fruit. Okay, so it represents a pause after you read the first fruit and then you go to the end. Another is dependent clause or independent clause. So the sentence starts with a dependent clause because I missed the bus. I was late to school. So always remember when subordinating conjunction starts the sentence, you have to put a comma after a dependent clause. Adjective clause, Anna, who is short woman, reached the books from the top shelf. So adjective, who is short woman. So from your subject is Anna. So you have to put a comma after your subject and then the adjective clause and comma again. Before direct quote, Jane said, I want to go to the park. So Jane said, you have to put a comma after that and what Jane said. And you see quotation mark on top of the quote or the speech. Next is following a transition word. So James forgot to finish his science homework, period. Therefore, the transition word, comma, he got into trouble. Okay? Next is question mark. So a question mark is used at the end of a question. So you can see this sign. So at the end of the question, right? For example, is she going to the park? What time will you arrive? So these two examples are questions. So question mark, it is the sign of the interrogative and is used after direct question. So remember the one kind of a sentence or one kind of sentences is interrogative sentence, which uh, ask question, used to ask question. So you use question mark if you're using an interrogative sentence. An exclamation mark can be used with a question mark as well. Why would you do this to me? So you can put exclamation mark and question mark. So it shows a strong question. Okay. What is exclamation mark? Exclamation mark, it is used after sentence that expresses emotion or a wish and interjection. So it's an exclamation mark indicates strong emotion. Okay, take note of this is strong emotion such as anger, fear, love, etc. It can also be used to indicate command. Example, stop. Then you put an exclamation mark. Okay. Let's have here, ouch, that hurts. Don't do that. So, ouch, that hurts is an example of a strong emotion. Don't do that is an example of a command. Okay. An exclamation mark can be used with a question mark. From the previous example of question mark, why would you do this to me? Okay, so as you see, this is a question. It starts with when and it ends with a exclamation mark and a question mark because as a strong this is shows it shows a strong question with strong feeling. Colon, it represents a pause, more complete than a semicolon but less a period. It is generally used before a list or an explanation. It introduce an explanation, separate independent clauses, introduce an example, introduce a list in a sentence before direct speech. So we have here example, introduce an explanation. She had one problem. There was no way she could finish her homework in time. So you are introducing here a problem. So the problem is there was no way she could finish her homework. So before that, you can say, you can put or use a colon to separate independent clauses. So they will not make it home in time. The roads are very itchy. To introduce an example, if she was going to make the cake, then she needed all the ingredients, comma, for example. So after for example, you can put a colon and the list of the examples. Introduce a list in a sentence. I like to play all kinds of sports. So this is the sentence and you are introducing list of sports. Before direct quote, she shouted, "Get back to class." So let's go to Semicolon. A semicolon is used to connect independent sentences that are related. It represents a pause of greater importance and length than a comma. It is used to separate closely related independent clauses. So, for example, London is famous in, and then a semicolon here. There are many places to visit. These two independent clauses are very much related to each other. So remember, we have conjunction, so you do not need to use semicolon when you are using conjunction in a sentence. And you can use semicolon before a conjunctive adverbs. Another examples, London is famous a city. There are many places to visit. And then semicolon before the another independent clause. My birthday is tomorrow. Therefore, I expect lots of presents. So you can see here before conjunctive adverb. Okay, you can put a semicolon. Also, a semicolon is used in a sentence containing a list. I have been on holiday to Istanbul. So this is an independent clause. So Turkey, Rome, Italy, Athens, Greece, and Paris, France. So containing of list of places. At the circus, we saw a clown juggling with swords. Then, a semicolon, a lion who stood on a ball, a fire eater with flashing eyes, and an 8-year-old acrobat. So in one sentence, you can put semicolon, depends on the list in your sentence. Okay? So lastly, we have quotation marks. So how do we use it? These are used to depict quoted or spoken language. They are used when the words are repeated as they were said. Quotation marks are used with direct quotes. For example, Mrs. Smith said, "Make sure you finish the homework by tomorrow." This is what Mrs. Smith said. So you really have to put a quotation mark, okay? Another is "get out of my room" with exclamation point, but you have to put quotation mark to the quote or to the speech, alright? So those are the different kinds of commonly used punctuations that we really have to remember when we are writing and also when we are reading. Punctuation can change the meaning of a sentence completely. So that would be all for today, grade 5. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you again in our next class. Stay safe, have a good day. Goodbye.